In this video, I'll tell you about making this simple 2D drawing. And for this, I'll start with the line command. So I'll go to this line command on the draw panel and I'll click anywhere in the drawing area to start the line. Now I'll make sure that my line is horizontal, and when the line is horizontal, this green tracking vector will show up. If this green tracking vector is not visible in your case, then go to the status bar and select this polar tracking. So this tool should be on if you want to keep this green tracking vector visible. Now you can enter the length of the first line. So I'll type 46 and press enter. Well, there we have it, the first line of length 46 unit. Now we need to enter the angle, and in this case you can see the angle is 144 with respect to existing line. Well, AutoCAD always measures angle with respect to positive side of x-axis and in anti-clockwise direction. So in this case, to find out the angle, you need to subtract 144 from 180. So that will be 36. So let's type angle sign. Now this will add your angle value instead of the length, and then 30. Alright, so in this video, I'll make this simple 2D practice drawing. So we'll start with the line tool, and for that I'll go to this line command and click anywhere in this screen to start the line, and then make sure that it is horizontal. When your line is horizontal, you'll see this green tracking vector. And if this green tracking vector is not visible even after making a horizontal line, then go to the status bar and click on this polar tracking. So that should make your green line visible. Now once the green line is active, enter the length, which is 14, and press enter. Now here we have this small line. Let's zoom in a little bit, and there we have it. Now move it in the upward direction and enter a length of 3 units. Move to the left, again 3, move to top 4, and that's it. Now press enter to exit the command. Now press enter again to start the command from this side, and now we'll add a line of length 10 and press enter. Now again move to the right and enter a line of length 4 units, press enter, and again move to the right, enter a length of 2.4 for the line, press enter. Now join it with this point. Okay, so now we have these details. Let's now make a circle here. So I'll go to circle and I'll select 2-point circle. Now I'll click on this point and then this end point. Just make sure you click on the end point, not on the mid points. So there we have it. Now I'll go to fillet and radius. The fillet radius is 3, so I'll select 3, press enter, and now the first line, second line. So there we have it, the fillet of radius 3. Again I'll go to circle, select center radius, and go to the same center of this circle. Now enter a radius of 1.6 and press enter. Alright, so now we can clean this drawing a little bit. So I'll go to trim and press enter and select these two geometries. Well, we cannot trim this because that's a single segment, so we need to erase it. So select and erase it. Alright, so now we need to add the hexagon, the final shape. For that, I'll go to polygon and now enter number of sides. You already know this is a hexagon, so type 6 and press enter. Now specify center. Well, the center is the center of this circle or arc in this case. And now you can see that the distance between two vertices of this hexagon is 2. So we can use inscribed in this case. And obviously, if you want to know more about this inscribed and circumscribed circle, you can go to the AutoCAD course and find out more about this. Alright, so now I'll go to inscribed in a circle and enter the radius of 1. So in this case, since the total distance is 2 from one vertex to other, so the radius will be half of that, which is 1. Press enter, and there we have it, the final hexagon. And that also completes our final drawing. In this video, we'll make this 2D drawing. So let's start with a simple line tool. So I'll go to this line command and click anywhere in the drawing area and make a straight line with length of 230 units and press enter. Now press enter again to exit this command, and now go to the circle tool and click on this endpoint of the line and make a circle with radius of 11 units and press enter. Press enter again and go to the same center point and make another circle with radius of 9 units and press enter. Now let's zoom into this area once again and make another circle with radius of 4 units here. So let's type 4 and press enter. Now here we have it, these 3 circles. Now let's go to the line tool again and click on this midpoint and make a line in the downward direction with a length of 7 units and press enter again to exit this command. Now we'll copy this complete concentric circle geometry and we'll copy it from this center point and we'll copy it to this point and to this point. Now let's go to the circle tool again and click on this point, the center point of these concentric circles, and make another circle with radius of 17 units and press enter. Now let's go to this circle flyout, expand it and select this tangent radius option. Now click on this circle and then on this circle and enter a radius of 200 units and press enter. Now we need to trim this extra portion here, so for that I'll select this trim tool, press enter and click here to remove it. Now we can make a mirror image of this. For that, select it. Now go to the mirror tool, click on the center point of this circle and then click on this midpoint and press enter. Now we need to offset this one to a distance of 22 units. So for that I'll select the offset tool and enter a distance of 22 units, press enter, select this geometry and click upwards. Repeat the process for this arc as well. And now we need to add fillets. For that, here we have this fillet, select it and enter a radius of 5 units. So type R, enter 5, enter and select this multiple option, click on this arc and click on this circle. Repeat it for this arc and this circle as well. Now press enter to exit this command. And now we can remove all the unnecessary geometries which are no longer required. So we don't need this line and we also don't need this vertical line. Now let's go to the line tool once again and drag this point, this quadrant, and click anywhere close to this point and make a straight line like this. Now go to the offset tool and enter 27 as the offset distance and click on this line and make an offset here. Now go to the offset tool again and this time enter a distance of 50 units, press enter. Now click on this line and click on the right side and press enter to exit this offset tool. Now go to the trim command, press enter and trim all the extra edges here. We don't need them here. And also remove this line, it's also no longer required. And go to this offset tool once again and enter an offset distance of 11 units, press enter and make another offset of this arc here. Now we need to rotate these two lines with respect to this intersection point. For that I'll select this rotate command and now select this line and press enter. Now click at this intersection point and enter an angle value of -15 unit and press enter. Now go to the rotate command again, click on this line, press enter, click on this intersection point and enter an angle value of 15 units and press enter. Now we can remove this arc, it's not required anymore, and we need to make more offsets here. For that I'll go to this offset tool and enter offset distance of 3 unit, press enter, click on this arc and click upwards. Now click on this arc and click downwards. And now we need to make some fillets. So go to the fillet tool, click on this radius option and enter a radius of 1 unit, press enter. Now select this multiple option and now click on this line, then this arc, this line, arc, and repeat the process for all of these 4 edges. And here we have it. Now we need to make a mirror image of this on this side. So I'll select this complete geometry, go to the mirror tool, click on this center point and directly click upwards and press enter. Now we need to remove some extra portions here for this circle. So I'll go to this trim tool, press enter. Now click on this part and this part. And here we have it, the final 2D geometry as per our requirement. In this video, I'll tell you about making the front view of a baluster. And these are the railing shapes which you commonly see on the porches or on the stairs, on the side of your stairs. So I'll start this baluster with the rectangle tool. So let's go to this rectangle tool on the draw panel. Now click anywhere in the drawing area to start the rectangle and then type at. The length of this rectangle is 6 and the width is 2 and press enter. So there we have it. So this is the first rectangle that we have. Now taking the reference of this rectangle, I'll make a line. So I'll go to line tool, click on this point, the midpoint on the bottom side of this rectangle, and now I'll make a line with length 30 unit. So you don't need to be very precise with this length. You can make it of even shorter length if you want. But in this case, I'm just using an approximate distance of 30 unit for this line. This will act as a reference only. Now let's go to rectangle again and I'll click somewhere here and again I'll make another rectangle, but this time with a length of 5 and a height of 1 and press enter. So there we have it. So the second rectangle. Now let's select it and explode it. So now I'll type X and press enter. So that will explode it, and now we can remove these 2 lines. These 2 are no longer needed, and we'll add the rounded edges here, rounded corners. So I'll go to fillet and I'll click on this side and this side, press enter again to repeat the fillet, and this one and this one, and there we have it. So that's the required shape which we needed. Now select it all, select move, click on this point, the midpoint at the bottom, and move it on this midpoint right there. All right, now we'll make another one of this. So we'll make another copy of this shape, and for that once again I'll go to rectangle, click anywhere to start that, and then type add. Now in this case the length will be 4 and the width will be 0.8 and press enter and repeat the process. So select it, type X, press enter. That will explode it. Well, let's just zoom in a little bit. Let's get rid of these 2 lines and go to fillet and add the fillets here. You can select any radius, and in this case, since the lines are parallel, it will add this semicircular shape. Now we need to move it properly on the right spot. For that I'll just select it, go to move, select this point and just move it here. Now we need to move it upwards. So select it again, carefully make the selection so that only the parts of the first geometry selected, not this one. Look at this, in this case I accidentally selected this line. So press and hold shift and click on it again to deselect it. Now that is removed from the selection set. Now we can move it upwards. Now the distance between this part and this part is 3.10. So I'll go to move, click on any point, click upwards and add the distance 3.10, press enter. So there we have it. Now we'll add the arc shape, and for that I'll select start and radius. So I'll go to arc and select start and radius. I'll select this point as the starting point, the intersection point, then this point, the second point, and in this case the radius is 1.6, and press enter, and there we have it. So that's the shape which we needed. So we can now repeat the process on this side, but make sure that you select the proper order of arc, because in this case if I would have selected this endpoint first and then this second, then arc will be formed right in this direction, not in this direction. So make sure that you select the first and the second points properly in a proper order. So in this case I'll select mirror, click on this arc, press enter. Now click on any of these 2 points on the axis. There we have it. That's the mirror image. All right, now let's move ahead. And now I'll make a reference line. So I'll go to line, click on this endpoint, and then add a distance of 2.3 and press enter. So here we have this reference line which has been added. Now using the reference of this line, I'll make another circle. So go to circle, select this center radius, go to this endpoint, and now add a circle with radius of 3 and press enter. Okay, now let's zoom out a little bit and let's make a copy of this shape. So we have already made this shape. We need to make a copy of this. So select it completely, only this one, and go to copy, click anywhere, and that will copy this geometry. Now move it upwards, and the distance in this case should be 12. So let's type 12 and press enter. So right now you can clearly see that the gap between this one, this geometry, and this geometry is 11.2. But since we need to select the corresponding point, we need to add the gap of this, which is 0.8. So the total gap will be 12 in this case. And that's the distance between this top point or this point or any corresponding points. So we have this shape. Now let's go to circle tool, and I'll select tangent radius. Now click here somewhere close to this point on the circle, then click on this fillet, and now add a radius of 6 and press enter, and that will add this tangent circle. Now we'll trim some of the geometries which are no longer required, and for that I'll go to trim, press enter. I'll trim this part, I'll trim this part and this part. So these are the geometries which are no longer needed. I'll select this one and I'll erase it. Now I'll select both of these and I'll make a mirror image. So go to mirror, select this point and this point, and there we have it, the mirror image. All right, now let's move ahead. So now we need to add some lines, and for that I'll go to line tool, and instead of rectangle we'll approach this part of the drawing in a different way. So now I'll click on this point and I'll move to the right and add a distance of 1.5 and press enter. Now I'll move in the upward direction and add a distance of 2.3 and press enter. Press enter again to exit this command, and I'll remove this. Now we can make a mirror image of this. I'll select it, go to mirror and make a mirror image. So this is another way of making this kind of shape. You could have selected the rectangle tool as well, but obviously this is another workflow that you can use. Now moving on to the next part, let's go to rectangle tool. And in this case, once again, I'll make the rectangle somewhere over here, and I'll type at. The length of this rectangle is obviously 3 and the height is obviously 0.6, and press enter. So there we have it. So once again I'll explode it. So select an X and enter. Now we can get rid of these lines. I'll go to fillet and these 2 lines, press enter again to repeat it, and select these 2 lines, and there we have it. Now let's select them both, and now we need to move it properly. So I'll select move tool, select this midpoint, and just make sure you track this point and click right where it is needed. So there we have it. Now we need to add the last rectangle. So go to rectangle tool, click anywhere to start that one, then type at. In this case, the length of the rectangle is 4.40 and the height is 1, and press enter. Once again I'll select it, go to move, click on this midpoint, move it here. We only need to add this fillet. So go to fillet, and the fillet radius is 0.3. So let's go to radius and let's type 0.3, press enter, select multiple because we want to repeat it, and apply the fillet here as well as here, and that completes our drawing. Now you can remove this line, it's no longer needed, and we also have this extra construction line. There we go. So that's the baluster shape which we needed. In this video, I'll tell you about making the top view of this mouse shape, and I'll start by adding a circle in the drawing. And in this drawing, we're actually going to use a very different kind of tool, which is called a parametric tool. So let's start with the circle. So I'll go to circle tool, click anywhere in the drawing area to start this, and add a radius of 8.25 and press enter. Now let's go to line tool, click on this point right here, and now add a line of length 15.96 and press enter again. So this line will end somewhere over here. Now taking the reference of this endpoint, I'll make another circle. So go to circle, this endpoint, and add a circle of radius 5.77 and press enter. Now we can get rid of this line, it's no longer needed, and instead we'll make another line. So I'll go to line, and taking the same reference of this center, I'll go to this endpoint here, and I'll make another line of length 5.25, press enter. Now move to the left and add a distance of 3.20 and press enter. Now this is the endpoint of the line which we will use as a reference to make another circle. So I'll go to circle, click on this endpoint, and now we need to ensure that this circle remains tangent on this circle. Well, we cannot do that directly because obviously you can either intersect it or you can just click somewhere over here or maybe here. So let's do that. I'll just click somewhere over here. So you can clearly see that this circle is not actually tangent on this one, but we'll take care of that in a moment. Okay, so we have done that. Now let's move to the parametric tool. So using the parametric tool, we can add the tangency, but before adding the tangency, let's restrict some of the geometries. So the first thing that we want to lock here is the radius of this circle. So when you make it tangent, some of the geometries might change. So you need to lock some of these geometries, and to do that you can constrain them. So these are the constraints, the dimensional and geometric. If you want to know more about these, you can go to the AutoCAD course and browse through the parametric drawing section. Now moving on, I'll select this radius tool, I'll click on this circle, and I'll just click somewhere here, and that will add this constraint. So this lock icon, this padlock icon, actually indicates that now this constraint has been added and the radius cannot change. Now let's add another constraint. I'll go to this fix, click on this circle, and now the center of this circle is fixed. You can see that the padlock icon has been added. Now repeat the process for this as well. So I'll go to this padlock icon, click on the circle, and there we have it. Now the center is fixed, but the radius can still change. Let's click on the grip and look at this. We can change the radius, but in this case you cannot change the radius even after moving the grip. You cannot change the center as well because we have already locked those two things. Now we'll make it tangent, and for that I'll go to this tangent, select this circle, select this circle. There we have it. The tangent has been added, the circle is still there, the center is still there on the endpoint, and now we can get rid of these constraints. So let's go to constraints, select it all the geometries, and press enter. So all the constraints are now gone. Well, let's move back to home. And now I'll just remove this line and this line. These reference lines are no longer needed. And we can now move ahead and add remaining geometries. For that, I'll first go to circle and I'll select tangent, tangent radius. Now I'll go to this circle somewhere over here, then I'll click here and add the radius of 4 and press enter. So there we have it. So that's now added. Now we need to add another circle here. For that I'll go to the same option, tangent, tangent radius, click on this circle, then this circle, and the radius in this case is 30 and press enter. Well, now we need to trim it to make things clear. So I'll go to trim, press enter, trim this part, and now carefully remove the part which I am removing. So I'll remove this and this part. Then I'll just trim this part. From here I'll trim this as well as this part. There we go. So we can also trim this as well as this part, this one, and this one. So look at this. So we now have the outline of the mouse shape. All right, Now we need to add a tangent line right over here. For that, I'll go to line. Now press and hold the shift key, then right click and select tangent. Now click on this circle. Again repeat the process, press and hold shift, right click, tangent, and click here. And the tangent line will be added like this. Okay, so we only have one last shape to add, and that's this one, the shape over here. But before doing that, let's make our reference line. And for that, I'll go to line tool. I'll go to this point right over here, and you can just take the reference of this center. I'll track it, click here, and once again I'll add a line of length 15.03 and press enter, and press enter again to exit the command. So you can clearly see that the distance between this and this endpoint, as shown by the reference line on the right side, far right, is 15.96, and the gap is 0.93. When you make this geometry here, there's a small gap which you can see as 0.93. So I simply subtracted that value. So I subtracted 0.93 from 15.96 and I got the value 15.03. That's the reference line which I made. Now I'll go to this rectangle, click anywhere and make the rectangle. So I'll type at. Now the length of this rectangle is 1.36 and the height is 4.30 and press enter. So there we have it. Now once again I'll select it and explode it. So X, enter, it will just explode it like this, and I'll get rid of this line and go to fillet, select this line, there we have it. So repeat fillet, go to this and this line, and there we have it. So fillets are now added. Now we need to move it appropriately on the right spot. So I'll select it all, go to move tool, select this center point and move it on this end point, and there we have it. That's the final shape. Now you can get rid of this reference line, and that's the top view of mouse shape which we wanted to make. In this video, we'll make an entirely different kind of drawing, and here we'll make a circuit diagram of a simple doorbell. So we'll use all the blocks that we need, and a lot of different blocks like the transistors, NPN, PNP transistors, speaker, IC, resistors, switches, battery, and so on will be needed. So we will not make all of those symbols. Instead, we'll use all the ready-made symbols which are available in the design center of this AutoCAD. So to begin with, I'll start with the design center, and you can open the design center by using the Control 2 key. So when you do that, it will open this design center palette and it will open it in the last view. So right now you can see that this is the last view which I've selected. So let's just click on this home icon to take us to the home view. And now I'll go to ENUS design center, and now we have a lot of blocks here, all of these drawings where we will find all the required blocks. So we are interested in the electrical blocks, so let's go to this one, the basic electronics actually. So select it, double click, go to blocks, there we have it. So we have all the blocks that we need here. So we need the battery, select, drag and drop. We need capacitor, drag and drop. We need the transistors, well, here it is, the PNP and NPN, we need both. So select it, drag it, drop it. We need a speaker also, and we need a switch as well. Well, not this one, we actually need this open switch. We need a resistor, and we need this ground. And that's all for now. If anything else will be needed, we can just simply import it like this. So now let's get rid of this. So here we have the block library, all the blocks that we need for this drawing. Now let's get started with our drawing. And for that, to make the circuit diagram, I'll start with the rectangle tool. So click anywhere in the drawing area to start it, and then make this rectangle, well, something like this. Alright, now we need to only move these blocks on the respective position. So let's start with this speaker. I'll click on move, and let's just move here. So I'll just go to this point, move it a little bit upwards and click here. There we have it. Now here we have the battery symbol. Let's select it and first rotate this one. So I'll rotate it to an angle of 90 degrees, and now I'll select it and again move and move it on this line right there. All right, now we need to move this earth symbol, so select it, move, let's move it close to this point somewhere over here, and we need to just move it a little bit downwards. So select move, little bit downwards, well, maybe like this. Now we need to move the transistor. So first we will need this one, select it, go to move, and now select this arrow, the top point of that arrow, and move it right over this line. Go to this second transistor, select it, select any point here and move it somewhere over here. Maybe you can just move it a little bit towards right. So you can see that right now I'm placing all the objects which I need actually, and that's all you need to do for now. Now let's mirror this one, and I'll get rid of this one. This is no longer needed, and I'll use this and I'll move it with respect to this center point, and I'll move it right over here. Now I'll select this capacitor, and again I'll rotate this one and select it, go to move, and make sure that it is moved exactly in line with this earth, because we are going to add a line here. So just select this midpoint and move it here. All right, so we only need to add this resistor now. So select resistor, go to rotate, rotate it to an angle of 90 degrees, select it, move, and move it, well, over here. All right, so we've added a lot of these components. Let's add the IC, the integrated circuit, and for that I'll just make another block here, another box. And since this is a polyline, we can change its width. So double click, go to the width option and click on any 2 points in the drawing area, and that will add the required width like this. So I simply clicked on 2 different points, and the distance between those 2 clicks were equal to the gap of this width. So that's what I did here. All right, now we need to add the connectors or the wires. So I'll use the line tool for that, and let's just start from this point right here, connect it with this polyline, press enter again to repeat it, click on this one here, connect it with this line, press enter, repeat line, connect it with here, this earth. And now let's add some circles here for the transistors. So I'll go to this circle and select 3-point circle. Now click on this point, this end point of the arrow, and this end point, and there we have it. Again, repeat the same process. So 3-point, this, and this. So now we can add the circuit lines. So once again, I'll just go to this one, I'll click here, and I'll just make sure that it connects like this. Again, repeat the line tool, select this point, join it with the IC, and again repeat line, join it here. We actually need to make a curve shape here so as to indicate that this should not touch this one. So for that curve shape, we can use this arc tool. So let's go to arc, click over here. That point is appropriate, there is no problem with that. So that point, and now approximately over here. All right, so our curve is also added. Now let's go to trim and let's get rid of some of the geometry. So we don't need this. Okay, also we need to get rid of this line here, we need to get rid of this part here, and we need to get rid of this part, and also this part completely. All right, so there we have it. Now we can add the remaining lines or the remaining connections. So I'll just go to this midpoint here, track this point of the resistor, join it with the resistor end, repeat the line tool, and I'll just leave it right here. We'll add a push button. So we don't have the block of push button in our design center, so we'll just make that here. So that's totally fine, we can do that. but for the rest of these we have already added everything that is needed. So let's add that push button, and for that I'll go to circle and I'll make tiny circles here. So I'll just make this circle a tiny one right there, and I'll select it, copy, click on it and make a copy up to a particular distance like this. Now let's go to polyline and add the T shape. So I'll just click here and here, and again go to polyline, go to midpoint and just click here. So again we need to add the width to this polyline. So double click on this polyline, go to width, and again I'll click on 2 points. So just look at this carefully. I'm clicking here and then I'll click here, and that will add the width. Look at this. So that's the width which has been added. You can repeat this process if you want. So double click, and this time you don't need to follow your cursor exactly. You can click on any 2 points. So I'll click here and then here, but before that you need to obviously select the width option. So select width, click here and here, and look at this, the width is now added. So that's how you can do this. All right, and that's our push button. And let's go to line again, and let's just join it with this here, and let's trim the part which is inside these circles. We don't need this and this tiny little line. All right, now we need to add some connectors, and the connectors are the solid areas, and for that I'll select one of the circle here, and let's just make a copy of this, and let's add a hatch. You can also use the line width to make it completely like this. That's also something which you can do, but for this case I'll simply add a solid hatch. So hatch solid, click inside, close the hatch creation. There we have it. Now select it and move it on different parts of the drawing wherever the connector is needed. So I'll go to copy and I'll select the center point here, center of the circle, and move it on all the connection points. So we needed one here. We also need one right here at the point of intersection. We have not yet added the line, the wire. We'll do that later on, but let's just add the connectors everywhere where they are needed, and that's all. Now you can get rid of this, it's no longer needed. All right, now let's go to line and add it here as well. So we have added all the details and we have created our circuit diagram. Now we need to add the text and other annotations. Alright, so now we'll add the text and other annotations in this drawing to make things more clear for the circuit diagram. And to do that, first we'll create our own text style. Now right now we are not aware of the scale of this drawing, so let's just build a idea of the scale, and for that I'll use DI command. So I'll type DI, press enter and click on 2 points. So I'll just click here and then I'll just click right over here, and that's 0.09. so this tiny distance is 0.09. So I'm just using that as a reference, or you can also type DI, press enter and click on these 2 points to get the picture, which is 4.4. so this total length is 4.4. now with reference to this, if our text size is 0.1, it will look better, so we'll use a text height of 0.1 unit. All right, now to make the text style, go to annotation, click on this text style icon, and it will open the text style. I'll select the standard. I'm not going to create any new. I'll select the font size and change it to simplex. Now the height, well, 0.1, and apply and close. Now let's go to this multi-line text and let's start adding the text. So look at this. So now on the cursor I have the 0.1 size of text, which is quite clean and visible. So let's add the switch here, S1, the switch number 1, then press enter, and that's our switch number 2, which is the push button type switch. Press enter again, and this is our 3-volt battery. All right, and maybe you can just extend it a little bit and you can just move it also. Now we need to add the polarity. The polarity signs can be added. So let's go to text, and here it's minus, and let's just move it again a little bit to this side, maybe here, and again here I'll add the positive polarity sign, and there we have it. Again, we need to just move it to place it properly where it is needed, and maybe a little bit towards left. So there we have it. Now the resistor, so let's go to text, and that's the first resistor. So R1, well, actually we only have a single resistor. I'm not adding its value in ohms to keep things simple here. Also we have the IC here, so let's just designate it with the IC. Again, I'm not very specific for this, and I'm not adding that IC number 8021 or things like that. I'm just keeping things simple here. Now we have the NPN and PNP transistors here, so for that I'll again add T1 and T2. So that's our T1, the first transistor, and press enter, that's T2. And this is the speaker, so let's add that. Capacitor here, so C1, that's for capacitor. And here we have the earth, so let's add earth also. And there we have it. So we've added a lot of annotations here, and in this way you can add your annotations. Now if you want to put your annotations on a separate layer, you can go to layer properties manager and add a new layer. In this case I'll simply add text and give it a color, maybe green, and I'll select this text, a single one, then right click, select this option, select similar, that will select all the text. Go to this layer drop down, change it to text. There we have it. So the text is now moved to its proper layer, and that completes our circuit diagram of a simple doorbell. Alright, so now welcome to the part 2 of this video, and here we'll add different blocks to our drawing, including the door, window and other interior blocks. So let's get started. So here we have these two blocks which we have already made, and I'll start by adding this door block. For that I'll go to this copy tool, select the door block, click here and click on this endpoint and move it at the required position. So in this case I'm not quite concerned about the exact location, I just need to move it here. So I simply click on this point and press enter. Now we need to flip it, and for that I'll select it, go to this mirror tool, click on this endpoint and then click on this endpoint and select yes from erase source objects, and here we have it, the block as per our requirement. Now we can make copies of this block, so select it, make a copy and select this endpoint and move it here, close to this one, and move it once again close to this point, just like this. Alright, now we need to add one more block over here, and we obviously need to rotate that one also. So I'll once again select this copy tool, select this original block, click on this point and move it somewhere over here. Now we need to rotate it. For that, select the rotate tool, zoom into this area, select this one, press enter, click on this point, and you can simply rotate this one like this. So here we have it. Now we need to add the next block, which is this one, this door block, and for that you can simply move it. So select move tool, select it and move it over here. Alright, so here it is. Now we can also erase this block, this is no longer required. Now we have these two windows which we need to add. So I'll start by adding this window, but I'll make a copy of this, and I'll first rotate this one. So select rotate and click on this point, and you can directly make a copy by rotating this also. So I'll simply click on copy and I'll make another copy of this, which is
rotate it to a particular angle. So you can move it also. Here it is. Now select copy tool, select this one and move it on this wall. So obviously we need to move this second one, as this is the wall of 10-inch thickness. So we can move it inside this drawing. And here in this case, we will place it here on this wall, just like this. And press enter. Now select this one and select copy tool and move it on this wall. You can take reference of this endpoint and I'll move it here. And now press enter. Now I'll select this window and once again I'll rotate this one, select it, click on this point, make a copy and rotate this one. We can once again move it and we can now copy it. So select it, select the copy tool and copy it on this point. So you can take reference of any of these points. I'll take the reference of this endpoint here. All right. And once again, take reference of this endpoint, place it here, place another one over here, just like this. Okay. And now we need to place one here. So I'll select this one. You can now move it directly. Select it and move it somewhere over here. So now we have this window here. I'll make one more copy of this window, select it, make a copy and move it over here. So in this case, I'll take reference of this endpoint and I'll move it here. All right, now these windows are no longer required. You can simply erase them. So windows are now added, doors are also added, but we need to clean the geometry a little bit because you can see that this area is not quite clean. And for that, I'll select this trim tool once again. So select trim, press enter, and simply remove these areas just like this. So you can do that quite easily using the trim tool. All right, now it's done. And with these changes, I'll save this drawing once. So I'll click on this save. I'll go to the desktop and let's name it as floor plan. And I'll click on save. All right, our drawing is now saved. Now we can add other blocks, and we're not going to create all of the blocks, and we already have a library of blocks within this AutoCAD 2018 or whatever version you are using, and that library is called Design Center. So you can open Design Center by pressing Ctrl+2 key on your keyboard, or you can also use its command Add Center. Now this will open the Design Center with your default view. In my case, this is the default view, or this is the last view which I have selected. So in order to return to the default view, click on this home icon and that will take you to the default view. Now select this ENUS folder and Design Center. And here you will find this list of drawing and you can select your required type of block from this list. So I'll go to this house designer, select blocks. Now we have these blocks. So we need this bathtub. Let's drag and drop it here. And as you can see that we have this in this window color, which we obviously don't want. So we want this on the blocks layer. So let's change it to blocks and I'll simply erase this one and I'll drag and drop it once again. Now select this toilet block, select the sink and click on home. Let's go to ENUS Design Center and now we'll select Home Space Planner, blocks, and now we need this bed. We also need this dining set, this lamp, this plant, this sofa, and let's move to this home icon again, ENUS Design Center, and let's select this kitchens and blocks. And now we need some blocks for the kitchen. So I'll select this oven, I'll select this refrigerator and this double sink. All right, now let's close this Design Center. We have now sufficient number of blocks here in the drawing area. Now we'll add these blocks one by one in our drawing, and I'll start with this bed. So select this one, make a copy of this and move it here. Now we can rotate this one. So select rotate tool and rotate it with this point, and I'll rotate it just like this and move it once again to the required position. In this case, I'll place it somewhere close to this point. Let's zoom a little bit, and there we have it. Now let's select this table lamp, and I'll make a copy of this and I'll move it here. Now let's make a table, a small one, and we'll place that table over here. Alright, so now we have this set quite complete, and we need to make a copy of this on this side as well. So I'll select these three objects. I'll select copy tool, click anywhere, and just move it to this side like this. Now let's add the objects in the toilet, and for that I'll select this one and I'll move it inside, and this is the toilet, so I'll just place it over here. Now we need to rotate this one, so select, rotate it like this, and let's now move it to one of these corners. We can take reference of this point as well if required. There we have it. Now we need to move this bathtub, so I'll select the move tool once again. Because we only have a single copy of this, we don't need to add multiple copies here. So here it is. Once again, I'll rotate this one. So click anywhere in the drawing area and rotate it like this. And I'll move it here by taking the reference of this point, just like this. Now select the sink and once again, move it over here. Alright, so these things are now added. Now we can erase this bed. This is no longer required. Now let's add this dining table. So select it, select the move tool and place it over here. We'll rotate this one as well. So select, rotate and rotate it to this 90-degree angle, and I may need to move it because we accidentally selected some other point. So there we have it. Alright, now let's add these objects in the drawing room. So I'll select this move tool and I'll move this sofa somewhere over here, and let's make a copy of this. So select copy tool, make a copy, and we'll rotate this copy of sofa. So select, rotate, select this point and make a copy like this, and let's move it a little bit towards this side. All right, there we have it. Now we can add a table here in the middle of this, or we can also move it a little bit if required, just like this. And let's move it also, and let's add the table. So I'll add the table here. Okay, and now we need to add a small filleted radius on this rectangle, and for that I'll select this fillet tool and click on radius, and I'll approximately select the radius by clicking at 2 points. So that will be the radius. Click on polyline and click on any of these lines. So that will add fillet on all of these 4 vertices. So there we have the table. Now let's add the TV here. So for the television set, I'll select the rectangle tool, click on this point, and let's add it just like this. And now let's move this plant, and I'll move it from this point to this one, somewhere over here. And I'll make another copy of this and I'll add it here. All right, and let's add it here as well. So there we have it. We can move it a little bit upwards if required, just like this. All right, so now we have added lots of blocks. We only need to add some blocks in the kitchen. So for that, I'll start with this sink, select move tool, move it here. Now select the oven and move it here. We need to rotate this one, select rotate. There we have it. Again, move and move it a little bit like this. Select the refrigerator, move it to somewhere over here. All right, now I'll move this sink a little bit towards right. Now we can move this lamp, or we can simply erase it. It's no longer required, and we need to add the slab here. And for that, I'll go to the line tool and I'll track this midpoint. I'll click somewhere over here and now add a distance of 3 feet. Press enter, join it with this point, select the line tool, and now once again with the extension type 3 feet and join it with this one. Now we can trim this portion. Select trim, press enter and click on this point here. So this line is also now trimmed. So now we have added all the required blocks in our floor plan as well. So after adding these details, we can now add hatches to our drawing. And for adding the hatches, I'll go to this layer and change it to hatch. And now let's click on save icon once again. And let's move to this hatch tool. Now in this hatch, I'll select the solid pattern. That's the one which we need. And select this area, the area within this wall. Again, select this area, the area over here, and the area here, the small area here also, and here also, and the small area over here. Now make sure none of the areas are unchecked, and yes, we have added it everywhere. Now simply click on close hatch creation, and we have added the wall thickness using these hatches. And now we can add the text. So before adding the text, we need to change the text style, and that will be the style of text everywhere in the drawing area. So I'll go to this annotation, expand it, and select this text style icon. Now we have this standard text which is selected right now, and we have the font txt.shx. So I'll change it to simplex. So let's type S, and here we have the simplex.shx font. Also the height is not set, so that will take the default height. You can keep it that way if you want. Simply select apply and close. Now I'll change it to text, and let's add this multi-line text. So let's make this window and let's type bedroom 1. Now the size of text should be 1 feet, and that depends on the overall scale. For this case, I'll select 1 feet. So select the complete text, and here in the size field, change it to 1 feet and press enter. And now click outside, and the text is added. So you can now move it to place it properly. And now let's make multiple copies of this. So select copy tool, select the text and make a copy of this one. I'll make it here. I'll make a copy here, here, and here. You can make another copy here also, and a copy over here. Now we can modify these text values. So let's double click here and let's change it to air vent. Let's change this text to toilet. You can move it as well to place it properly. Double click here, change it to bedroom 2. This one is drawing room. And we need to rotate this text as well, so we'll do it in a moment. Here we have this dining area. Let's expand it, and finally the kitchen. All right, now let's move this a little bit and we'll rotate this one. So select rotate and rotate this like this and move it here. All right, now we have added all the required values here. We have added the text, we have added the blocks and everything within this drawing. So we finally need to add dimensions in our drawing, and we need to print this floor plan using our physical or virtual plotters. And that we'll learn in the next and the final part of this series. So now our floor plan is almost prepared. We only need to add the dimensions and we need to plot this final layout. So right now here we don't have any dimensions added in the drawing, and for that I'll go to this annotation, expand it, and here we have this dimension style manager. So click on it and let's change the dimension style. So I'll go to this standard, and as you can see that we don't need that one because we don't have the fit and inches convention here. So we'll make our own dimension style because none of these dimension styles are as per our own requirement. So I'll go to this ISO 25 and now I'll click on new. So that will make a new copy of ISO 25. Let's give it a name. So I'll name it as dim and click on continue. Now we need to change some parameters in this case. So I'll start with this symbol and arrow, and I'll change the arrowhead to this architectural tick. Also here go to text and change the text placement to centered. That's the one which I prefer. Also I'll go to the fit tab, and here we don't need to change anything. I'll go to the primary tab, and here we need to change this one to architectural. So unit format should be architectural in this case. Now that's the change which we require for now. I'll click on OK and close. And now we'll start by adding the dimensions. So I'll go to this linear dimension and now click on this point. And before that, we need to change the layer. So yes, make sure that you change the layer to dim. All right, now click on this point and click on this point and add the dimension. And we have some problem here. The size of dimension is very small, that we need to change. So once again, go to annotation, this dimension style manager, select dim, modify, fit tab, change this overall size to 5. OK and close. There we have it. Now it's quite clearly visible. So go to dimensions again. And as you can see that because of these hatches, we are not properly able to see the point where we are actually clicking. So we can hide these hatches temporarily for our drawing. And for that, I'll go to this drop down and click on this light bulb icon right next to this hatches. So that will hide our hatches as of now. Now we can once again go to the dimension and we can add rest of the dimensions. So here we have it, the first one. Now the second one should be here. All right, now let's go to the next one. Let's add this here. Go to this dimension again and let's add it properly here. You can zoom into this area if required. All right, now add it here. You can take reference here, and you only need to add the dimensions which are required. You don't need to add additional dimensions which are not required or which are redundant. So here this should be added, the air vent size. And here also we need to add one more dimension here. So I'll go to this point and I'll add the dimension here. So I'll move this one a little bit over here and this one a little bit over here. So there we have it. So we have all the basic dimensions in place. And these dimensions are sufficient enough to specify all of the room sizes in this floor plan. Now we only need to add a final note, and we can use text tool to add that final note. So let's add it here. Okay, so let's type exterior wall thickness is 10 inches and interior wall thickness is 6 inches. So that's the note which we need to add. And here also I'll change the text size to 1 unit or 1 fit and press enter, click outside, and the note is now added here. And obviously we need to change it to the text layer. It is right now on the dimension layer. As you can see clearly the color is same. So I'll select this one, click on the drop down and change it to text. And now it's on the text layer. If required, you can highlight this note, and to highlight that you can select it and use this bold option. But obviously in case of simplex font you cannot do that because that's a single line font. You can do that with a true type font obviously.
So in this video, we'll make the elevation plan from this floor plan, and we have made this floor plan in the first 3 series of videos. So initially there were no plans of making this elevation view, but based on the popular request of the subscribers, I'm now making it. So here also I have made this with as much simplification as possible. So let's get started. So here we have this floor plan and we have the dimensions, text and rest of these objects. So for making the elevation, we actually don't need all of these distractions. We can hide these objects, and if required we can bring them back later on. Now in this case I'll use the front elevation. So this will be the elevation which we'll make, and for that I'll first start by hiding these dimensions and text, and I can simply do that by hiding the layer. So here we have this text layer and the dim layer. Let's click on this light bulb icon here as well as on text. So that will hide both of these objects. Now we can take the reference of these drawings, actually this floor plan, to make the proper lines, and I'll start with this line tool, and I'll click on this endpoint and I'll now make a line approximately of this length. Now press enter to repeat the line tool, make it again, press enter again, and now take the reference of this line. So in this case I'm just taking the reference of these lines. In this case you can see that I'm taking the reference of this line, which is the end point of the door. Okay, and I'll once again make this line of this length, press enter to repeat it, take the reference of this second point here, and again make it. So there is a lot of panning and zooming involved in this case, and if you want to keep your line completely vertical, you can also activate the ortho mode. So you can either click here on the ortho mode, or you can use the F8 function key to activate it. So I'll go to line again, and now I'll take the reference of this window, enter, and again this window, and now the reference of this wall, and there we have it. All right, so the vertical lines are done. Let's make a horizontal line. So I'll go to line tool and I'll roughly choose this point and I'll make a horizontal line of this length. Now you can deactivate the ortho mode and let's activate the polar tracking. Now let's get back to this one. Here I'll go to offset tool and I'll now offset it by a distance of 2 fit. So I'll type 2 fit and press enter. So now I'll click on this line and click here. Also you can actually click on this line and click on this side. So that will be the overhang which we'll make for our drawing. For now this may not look very clear to you, but in a moment it will automatically become clear to you. So now let's start by offsetting this horizontal line. So I'll go to offset again and I'll enter an offset distance of 1 fit 6 inches. Alright, so I'll click on this line and click upwards. Now once again press enter twice, and this time change the distance to 2 fit. And I'll click on the same line, click upwards, again press enter twice, and this time enter a distance of 11 fit, and click on the same line, click upwards, enter twice, and then 16 fit. The same line, click upwards, enter twice, and then 19 fit 3 inches, and the same line and click upwards. So all of these distances are available in the data file which you'll download, and you can see the link in the description for downloading the data file or for downloading the elevation plan with all of these dimensioning. So you can refer to that dimensioning for making this drawing. Alright, so we have done up to this much. Let's now move to this part here. So here we have this door, and if you actually go to this, you'll notice that this is the reference of door. So you can see that this is door. Okay, now here I'll add a line. Actually this is the door, and I'll use the midpoint here, but actually we are not able to see the midpoint because we have this complete line, so we need to actually trim it first. So I'll go to trim, enter, trim this line and trim this line. All right, now we can remove this complete horizontal line because we only need this much of the segment. Now I'll go to line and I can actually make the geometry, but yes, there is one more thing that I need to add here, and that's another line. So now I'll take the reference of this midpoint and I'll add another line. You can keep it like this. So this is the random length which I want actually, and I'll take the reference of this line to make another offset here. So that will be an offset of 8 feet. So I'll go to offset and I'll type 8 feet, and let's click here and click on this side. All right, now we can go to line and let's click on this midpoint and join it with this one. That's it. Now we can remove this line and this line, and if required you can remove this as well, just to keep our drawing clear. Now let's go to trim tool again and let's remove some other lines. So I'll select this one, this complete extra segment. Also this extra segment is not needed, so we can just remove that as well. And if required you can actually remove these lines also, but for now we'll just keep it because we may need to take the reference of that. So for that I'll just keep it here for now. Alright, so now we have done it up to this much. Let's go to offset again. So as you can see that I'm doing a lot of offsets in this case, and you will also need to do that. So now this time I'll enter a distance of 2 feet. Click on this horizontal line and click upwards. Now press enter twice, and now once again enter an offset distance of 1 foot. Press enter, click on this and click upwards. Now again I'll select offset. So press enter twice and select 2 inches. This time click on this line and click downwards. All right, so there we have it. Now let's stretch this line a little bit towards this side and just make sure that it follows the same linear curve and it does not deviate from that linear path. All right, and then I'll make a single horizontal line just like this. And now I just wanted to touch these 2 lines to touch on this one. For that I'll select extend, press enter and click on these 2 lines. And now select trim, press enter and trim this line. That's no longer needed. And now we can make a mirror image of this segment. So I'll select these 3 segments and I'll also select this line and click on mirror. Now click on this midpoint, actually this end point of this line, and click exactly downwards and press enter. So there we have it. Now we need to actually join these 2 points. For that I'll select fillet. So select fillet and make sure radius is 0. So I'll select radius and I'll change it to 0. If it is not, in this case it is actually 0. So now click on this line and this line, press enter to repeat it again. Click on this line and this line, and you'll notice that it will join it exactly at the endpoints as we needed. Let's now zoom out and let's trim these extra portions also. So I'll go to trim, press enter, and I'll trim it all. That's also not needed. Actually, we also don't need this extra part here, and we don't need this extra part here. So carefully remove the lines only which I am removing, not any other line. All right, so this is what we have now. Let's now remove this line as well. That will also be not required. Okay, let's start by adding the poles. And to do that, I'll actually start by adding a pole here. Okay, so for that, I'll go to line tool. And obviously, in this case, you may need to take the distance precisely, but now just to keep drawing simple, I'm using a random distance in this case. So I'll just select a distance from this point of any particular distance, maybe somewhere close to, let's say 3 feet. Okay, that seems appropriate. So I'll just click here and I'll just make it of this length. So I'll click here so that this line can be made, and then I'll go to offset and 1 foot as the offset distance. Click on this one and click here. All right, now let's go to rectangle and let's make a small rectangle here. So I'll take the reference of this point. I'll make a rectangle just like this. Again, you can see that this is a random one, not a very selective kind of dimension. Now I'll move it, select this point, and I'll move it exactly on the center like this, so that it is properly placed right at the center of this pillar. Now you can repeat this process and you can just copy it actually. So I'll go to copy tool, I'll copy it over here and I'll copy it over here. Okay, so there we have it. Now you can trim it. So let's trim the extra part. So I'll go to trim, press enter, and I'll trim these two portions. I'll actually trim this also, and I'll trim from here as well. Now you can trim this part also, that's also not required, and this part also from your drawing. Let's now add another detail here. So I'll go to offset again, and now I'll add an offset distance of 2 fit. So I'll type 2 fit, press enter, and let's click on this one and click upwards. Let's now go to trim again, press enter, and let's trim the part of drawing which is not needed. So I'll just trim this line which we just made here, but I'll trim it only up to that much, and I'll click here and I'll trim it like this. Now you can remove this line, this extra line is not needed. Okay. All right, so that's almost done. Let's now make a mirror image of this one on this side as well. And to make the mirror image, I'll take the center point here. So I'll select this complete pillar, just this pillar, select the mirror tool and click on this midpoint, and I'll click exactly upwards. So that will make a mirror image like this. Okay, so now you can see that our drawing is beginning to take shape. Now we can add our door, and for adding the door actually I'll use once again the offset tool. So I'll go to offset and I'll select an offset distance of 2 fit. Select this line and click downwards, so that will make this offset. Now we actually need to trim extra portions from this drawing, and to do that I'll select the trim tool here. Let's press enter and let's trim this part, this part, this part, and this part. That's all we don't need. I'll now select these two lines, this line and this line. So these are the 4 lines that are now not at all needed. So I'll just erase them. Okay, so now we have a fairly clean drawing, and you can see that this line is going way beyond this direction. So actually we don't need that as well. So I'll go to trim, press enter, and I'll just trim it from this point. So from here as well as from here. And now we can actually remove these 2 lines. Okay, so now we have a fairly clean drawing. Let's add the details, and for that I'll go to offset tool again and offset a distance of 6 inches. Click on this one and offset inside, and offset inside. Repeat this process again, offset inside, inside, and inside. All right, now I'll go to fillet, and again I'll make sure radius is 0, press enter, and now I'll actually remove these extra lines here. So I'll click on these 2, and you can see now that this is merging properly. So I'll again do this for this one as well. I'll press enter and I'll repeat the process for these 2 lines and repeat it for these 2 as well. So instead of trimming, I've actually selected fillet tool to make it a lot easier. Let's go to line and add a line here, and let's repeat the process and add a line here. All right. Okay, so we have made this door. Now let's add some details. So I'll go to line tool and I'll make a completely straight line right from the center like this. And here again I'll make an offset. So I'll go to offset, and the offset distance is obviously 6 inches. Offset it towards the left and towards right. Now we can actually remove this line, and we can also trim this part. So trim and this part. So you can see that I'm adding actually a lot of details here that you can do, or if you want to have less detail here, you can do that as well. So now go to line and add a straight line like this, press enter twice, add a line here, enter twice, and I'll make a horizontal line right from this random distance somewhere over here, and I'll now make a copy of this. So I'll go to copy and I'll make it copy up to maybe this point, and I'll now copy these two lines, copy them to this side as well. Okay, so there we have it. And now let's go to hatch tool. So I'll go to hatch and I'll add a solid hatch pattern. So this is the pattern which I'm going to select, solid. Also, you can keep this option associative checked or unchecked depending upon your requirement. I'll just keep it checked for now, and I'll click on this area and close hatch creation. So a door is almost prepared. Let's now clean this part of the drawing. So I'll go to trim, press enter, and let's clean this one. All right, so that's now properly cleaned. We have this clean drawing here up to this point, and now we can add the final details to this drawing. And before doing that, actually I just prefer to keep my drawing clean, so I'll remove all the unnecessary details from this drawing that are not required. So I'll go to trim, and let's trim these extra lines. They are actually no longer needed, and we also don't need this one. We actually need these two lines for windows as of now, so let's keep them here, and this will be the line which we'll use for our pillar, and obviously this is the end, so this can be removed for now. All right, so let's now add the pillars. So I'll go to this pillar, I'll select it all like this, I'll go to copy, and let's make a copy, and let's paste it somewhere over here like this. Again, in this, just make sure that this line falls exactly on this, although that is not needed, but just for the sake of simplicity, I'll just try to keep it that way, and I'll just place it like this. All right, now we can remove this line. This is no longer needed, and let's make another copy, and this time I'll select this one for copying it, and I'll go to this center point, or the midpoint actually, and I'll paste it here. And again, actually you can paste it anywhere, but again we'll follow the same process. Select it, select the move tool, and track this point, and I'll just paste it here. All right, now we can remove this line as well, and obviously this line is also no longer needed, so we can just remove it. Okay, so now we have this. We only need to add the windows, and to add the window I'll add the reference line. So I'll go to line, and I'll make a reference line taking the reference of our door here, and for the window I'll use design center. So press Ctrl 2, and that will open the design center palette, and we'll actually use our drawing from this design center palette. And you can just see that I have a folder pretty much open here, and I'm going to use this one. But if you are not able to see this, then click on home, and that's what you are going to get. So now go to ENUS, design center, and select house designer and blocks. So there you'll find these kind of blocks. I'm going to select this window wooden frame. So let's select and drag it out like this. So you have to only drag and drop it. Now select it. This is a block. Click on move. Click on this endpoint and move it here like this. Now we need to make a mirror image. So select it. Select mirror. Click on these 2 points, and we have the mirror image. And now we can actually remove these reference lines. They are no longer needed. So we now have our window. So our drawing has pretty much clean shape, but we still need to clean some of these areas like this one. So I'll just trim it here. All right, and now we can add the details. So I'll now start by adding the stairs, and I'll go to this line tool. Okay, and let's start from this point somewhere over here. So I'll take the reference of that point. All right, and now after an approximate distance of 1 foot, I'll just click downwards, and let's enter 6 inches and then click here, and then again 1 foot and downwards 6 inches, and then here 1 foot and again downwards 6 inches, then 1 foot, and again I'll just join it with this one here. So that's it. So we have this profile of the stair. Let's now go to line tool again, and this time I'll add the second one here. So I'll just take the reference of that point and I'll make a slant line which looks like this. All right, so there we have it. Now I'll add rest of the drawings here, and to do that I'll actually use a rectangle tool. So now I'll click on this point and I'll make a rectangle which is approximately of this height and this thin. Okay, so it should be just like this. Again, I'm using approximate distance here, not any exact distance in this case. All right, so now we have done this. Let's now click on this one and let's make some copies of this. So I'll go to copy and I'll just copy it up to a particular distance, maybe up to this, and again here. So these are the two copies which I've made, one at this midpoint and one here at the end point. And let's select this one and let's make another copy of this. So I'll go to this point and I'll copy it here. And now we need to extend it up to this rectangle. So I'll go to extend, press enter, and let's extend this line up to that rectangle. There we have it. So this is now properly extended up to that rectangle. Let's now go to trim and let's trim the part which should not be visible, which are these portions. Actually, this is also something which should not be visible. This is the area of the stair that we'll use hatch to shade, okay, and we'll just shade these areas. So this is what we are going to get finally. Actually, we just left one part here, so I'll just clean that one as well. All right, so that's now properly cleaned up here. You can see it here clearly, and our drawing is pretty much complete except a few small changes and few small additions. So let's add the chimney here, so that will be the final detail, and for that I'll once again use the rectangle tool. So let's now click on this point, and here again I'm just using the approximation, and as you know that this is the side where we have the kitchen, so that's where we are adding the chimney. So again I'm using this approximate distance, and let's go to rectangle tool and let's make this rectangle just like this, and let's move it. So I'll select its midpoint and move it on this midpoint. Let's select it, make a copy up to a particular distance. All right, let's add a line and let's add it somewhere over here. Let's make a mirror image, and that's it. We can actually add another line here just in the center, and if required you can actually make an offset of maybe 3 inches on both the sides, on this side as well as on this side, and now we can remove this one. All right, so that's it. So our chimney is also there, and if you need to actually change the height you can do that by using this stretch tool. So I'll maybe decrease its height a little bit up to this. Alright, so a lot of detail is already in the drawing. Let's add some railings and we are now good to go with that. So for adding the railings I'll use polyline tool. So I'll go to polyline and I'll actually join the midpoint. So just make sure that you join the midpoints here of these rectangles. You can actually press enter key to repeat the command, okay, and I'll select these 2 points and I'll join it like this. And also make sure that you join it from this point to this point, so not only from the top but also from the bottom. So just join it like this and repeat it for this complete side. So I'll go to midpoint. Oops, I just selected the end point. No, I need to select the midpoint, so I'll select the midpoint and I'll click on this midpoint, and again I'll select this midpoint, this one, and select the remaining midpoints and this midpoint, and obviously this midpoint. Okay, so up to this point it looks good. Now let's add some vertical bars here. For that I'll go to polyline again, and now I'll add the first bar somewhere over here like this. And here in this case I'll make multiple copies, and to do that I don't need to select any array or any other tool. You can do it directly with the copy tool. So I'll go to copy and I'll select this one, press enter, select this as the base point. Now instead of making a single copy, let's click on this array and let's add 28 as number of arrays. So we'll now have 28 bars that can be fitted within that area, but I'll select fit option now. So that will allow me to decide the maximum dimensions. So that will be something like this. And there we have it. So all the railings are there. Now you can simply copy them and you can just paste them right on this one. So I'll just make maybe select bunch of more these railings, and I'll select copy, select this point and just click somewhere over here, and we have it here. Okay, properly placed with equal distances. And you can actually repeat the process for this side as well. So again, just make a copy, select the copy tool, select this one, and I'll just move it here. And now you can actually see that I've made some extra ones. So let's select these extra polylines and let's erase them so that you have only the required number of these polylines. And again, you can select these few here and you can actually copy them to the last remaining side, which is here. And we have it here now. Again, some extras that can be removed. And here also go to polyline actually and just make these railings here. So you can press enter twice to repeat that command, and you can just join them like this and like this. Okay, so now we only need to do some cleanup work here also. So I'll go to trim, press enter, let's do some cleanup. So this is the first thing that you need to remove, then this one, obviously this needs to go, this one also, and this one as well. So that has actually cleaned our drawing pretty much. Okay, this is something that we need to take care of. Okay, so that's it. Now we need to add the thickness to these polylines, and that can be easily done with the help of width tool. So simply double click on any one of these polylines, maybe this one. So double click there and go to width option. Now enter the width. In this case, I'm entering a width of 2 inches and press enter, and just look at this. So the thickness is added here, and you can then copy this property to other polylines. So let's type MA, that is match properties command, press enter, select this polyline, okay, this one, and now copy this property on remaining railing. So I'll click on this one, then I'll click on this one, and then carefully click on this one, okay, and then this one, and this one, this and this. That's it. All right, now we'll add the thickness to these ones also, and for that once again I'll double click on this one, and again I'll go to width and let's add 1 inches and press enter. That's it, the thickness is now added. And now we can make multiple copies again of this thickness using the match properties command. So I'll type MA, press enter, and now I'll copy this one and I'll paste it on all the remaining ones. Actually, you can just make a window like this to copy all of these properties. Instead of clicking one by one, you can just make this kind of crossing window. Just make sure it avoids any contact with other polylines. Here we actually need to make it one by one. We cannot do it in one go. So I actually have to carefully select these lines. Actually, we have an overlapping one here, but that's not visible, so I'll just leave that. All right, here also we need to make the selection quite carefully. Again, this is the one that we need to select. We have 2 lines there. Here we have that one, and now we can actually select it like this. All right, so there we have it. So we have now added all of these railings and all. Now we can add, okay, we just left that one. So let's type MA, enter. Let's select any one of these and add the thickness here as well. All right, so now we have pretty much done everything here, and we now need to add the final touch, and that can be added with hatches. So I'll go to hatch and I'll select this AR shake pattern. I'll select this area and this area. Now we need to change the scale actually in this case. So I'll change the scale to 0.2. Well, actually we need to change it further, so 0.05, that looks better, but I'll maybe change it to 0.03. let's see. Yes, that looks even better, so I'll just keep it that way. I'll keep it at 0.03. all right, let's click on close hatch creation. And before doing that, we'll actually decrease the transparency here because it is actually completely opaque. To show the sense of depth, I'll actually reduce the transparency and I'll make it like 30% and close it. Now I'll go to hatch again and I'll select this area and I'll hatch it here, but with full transparency, with zero transparency actually. Okay, that's it. So because this area is in the front, this is in the back, so to give that solid look, I have selected this kind of transparency here in this case. And if you want to increase this transparency, you can select the pattern once again and you can actually increase it, just dial it up a little bit further to maybe 44, and that looks even better. Now let's add the brick pattern. So I'll go to hatch again and let's select the normal brick pattern. So that's the one which I'm going to select, and I'll select the areas where I'm going to put it. All right, actually, you know, I just don't want to put it on this area, so I just need to remove it. So I'll select remove and I'll just remove it from this area. I'll add these patterns only up to these areas. Now we also have pattern here. You can actually add it here manually, or you can hide them all and then add them and then bring them back. So that's what we're going to do next, but for now I'll just increase the hatch transparency to the same value, approximately 40, and yep, that will do. Okay, 39, and then I'll close it. Again, we have a lot of these polylines, so let's select them all here. Okay, and let's select all of them here. And well, that's not needed, or maybe we will need it, so I'll just select the ones which are needed. So these three and these two, and here also we'll just need these polylines only, so I'll just select them, whichever is needed here. Okay, and now right click, isolate, hide objects, so that will hide it all. Now we can again make an hatch pattern here, so I'll just make a pattern here and here, and you can see that the transparency is retained, the pattern is retained. So with the same pattern and everything, we are now able to make the hatch here like this. We can then close it, and once again you can bring it back, but before doing that I'll add the pattern here as well. So I'll go to hatch again, this area, then this area and this area, but the transparency is 0 in this case. Close hatch creation, let's right click, isolate, and end object isolation to bring everything back in the drawing area. Let's add the final details, and for that I'll go to hatch again, and now I'll add the concrete pattern. So this is the one which I'm going to use, AR concrete. Let's select this area and this area, carefully zoom into this and add it here as well. So these are the two areas also where you need to add it. And you can change the scale if you want, but I am pretty much happy with this scale, so I'll just press enter to finish this pattern. And let's add the last hatch pattern, and that will be the solid one. So once again move up, select solid and select this area, so that will add the hatch pattern on the complete stair here. Okay, and that's it. So we are now done with this. And this is our front elevation. So as you can see that I've used a lot of different tools for making this drawing, and a lot of different commands have been used, you can make it in your own way. And I've actually simplified this drawing a lot. Still, it took a long time to make this drawing. So you can add more details if you want. You can add as many details. You can use correct dimensions and everything to make it as detailed as possible.